Does God really exist? This question has vexed the minds of thinkers since the advent of civilization. Prior to the past 1,000 years, this thought was not a common one among intellectuals. But with the advent of modern science and the Industrial Revolution in Europe, European thinkers and philosophers started to debate this idea freely and earnestly. God is supposed to be the creator of this universe, which consists of trillions of stars. Even our own Milky Way galaxy consists of around 400 billion stars, of which our Sun is just one average-sized star. And there are 100 to 200 billion galaxies like our own Milky Way galaxy. It is even possible that the universe is infinite, stretching on forever with an infinite number of stars. God is supposed to be the creator of this whole infinite universe, and it is difficult to imagine that one God could manage such a vast universe. Some people would say that perhaps there are many gods because the universe is so vast and it's probably infinite. It might be difficult for one God to manage such a vast universe. But again, one God could manage it with the help of other smaller, less powerful gods. But no one is God if he is not all-powerful and omnipresent and omnipotent. God is supposed to be the creator and sustainer of this universe. But atheists deny the existence of God and state that there is no proof of the existence of God. It appears that the God that the various religions imagine does not exist. The idea of God was advanced by various religions so as to answer questions like the following, which naturally arise in our minds. Questions like, who created this earth and our moon and sun and the planets? Is there some person or being who created this universe? Is there some person or being who controls this universe? What is the purpose of human life? Is there a purpose to the life of an animal or an insect? Where do we go after we die? Various religions try to provide answers to these questions. Hinduism says that human soul never dies and that upon our death, our soul takes another form. And depending on our deeds, that is karma, we may be born as a donkey or an insect. Buddhism does not believe in the soul, but agrees with Hinduism in the idea of reincarnation. Both Hinduism and Buddhism state that the goal of human life should be to do good deeds so as to achieve nirvana or moksha, which is the liberation from the cycle of birth and death. Buddhism places more emphasis on right conduct, while some sects of Hinduism emphasize worship of God in temples and the chanting of God's name as a means of achieving nirvana or moksha or liberation. This author believes that the theories about God advanced by various religions are just that, theories whose correctness has never been established. All religions believe in the concept of heaven and hell. These concepts are used to answer man's questions. Where do we go when we die? The belief is that if you do good deeds in this life, you will go to heaven. And if you do bad deeds, you will go to hell. Thus, heaven and hell are used to convince humans to do good deeds and stay away from doing bad deeds known as sins. The concept of sin also varies from one religion to another. Islam forbids eating of pork and consumption of alcohol, which are considered sinful, but these are considered perfectly fine in Christianity. But almost all religions consider a few things as bad, sinful behavior, and these include things like stealing, speaking lies, hurting others, and adultery. It seems the religious principles were used to regulate and control society. For example, in India, when the state was weak and there were numerous small kingdoms, Hindu code of conduct kept people on moral path and regulated society for centuries. In the same way, when Islam conquered many countries of the Middle East, Islamic principles and Islamic law, that is Sharia, regulated society and kept people on moral path. But in the modern times, when states have become very powerful and centralized, the laws passed by the legislators are used to regulate society, and the need for religious rules to regulate society has been diminished. Recently, it was said that when NSA, the National Security Agency, leaker Snowden, fled the USA, first to Hong Kong and then to Russia, his fate lay in the hands of the Russian authorities. If they had handed him over to USA, he would probably have rotten in the prison for a long time before either killing himself or dying a very painful death. One author said that if a man like Snowden had risen about 1,000 years ago, instead of going to Russia, he would have just taken shelter in a church and he would have felt just safe there. But it seems that God has become weak these days. So instead of fleeing into a church, he had to flee to a country that was strong enough to rebuff USA and which he believed could have sheltered and protected him from the wrath of the US authorities. This author believes that the theories of heaven and hell are just that, theories. There is no proof that heaven or hell exists. Why then do people continue to believe in God? If God does not exist, and if heaven and hell are just unproven theories, then why do people all over the world continue to believe in God? God and religion meet a deep-seated need of humans. The one characteristic that differentiates us humans from other animals is that we think. Because we think, we ask questions like, who created this awe-inspiring universe? Is there a purpose of my life? Are there some good actions and some bad actions, and why? Religion uses God to answer these questions. By providing answer to these questions, religion meets a basic need of human mind. But this does not mean that the answers provided by religion are sound or scientific. Religionists invariably raise the question, what is the purpose of life? And then they answer it by stating that the purpose of life is to serve God or to realize God. I recently attended a lecture in Houston by a prominent Hindu religious leader known as a Swami. He was always referring to God and how the primary aim of our lives ought to be to seek God, to get closer to God and to realize God. He never gave reasons as to why we need to seek God, but he implied that one needs a guru to reach God. So you ought to seek God and you need to become his disciple if you want to reach God. But the question arises, why should I seek God and why do I need God? Actually, right now, what I need is some more money and to solve some personal problems. But he says that I ought to seek God and to give him some of my hard-earned money and attend a retreat that he is leading. I can see that his aim is to make me his disciple and to control my mind. I'm not going to fall in this trap because I'm not a young man and I have experienced this sort of thing before. At that time in my life when I was young, it was not a religious leader but a political one who trapped me. He succeeded in controlling my mind for a while. I gave him my money out of my own free will. But wait, was it my own free will? No, I gave him my money because I was brainwashed. So religionists invariably state that the aim of life is to serve God. But every religion has a different concept of God. The God of Islam is not the same as the God of Hindus. In fact, shortly after the birth of Islam, The God of Islam exhorted the Islamic armies to invade India, butcher the Hindus, destroy the Hindu temples with fire and sword, and convert them to Islam at the point of sword and establish the rule of Islam in India. So, it is erroneous to say that all religions believe in the same God and that all religions are the same. The author agrees with Sigmund Freud when he counters the arguments of religionists by saying that life does not have to have a purpose. In fact, the purpose of life is basically to be happy. We all want to be happy. We want to lead a happy, trouble-free life, free from diseases and devoid of wants and deprivations. If some people find happiness in religion, this does not prove that you need religion to be happy. It only shows that religion provides some people a way to be happy. The following quotation from Freud is interesting. Quote, "Religion restricts this play of choice and adaptation, since it imposes equally on everyone its own path to the acquisition of happiness and protection from suffering. Its technique consists in depressing the value of life and distorting the picture of the real world in a delusional manner, which presupposes an intimidation of the intelligence. At this price, by forcibly fixing them in a state of psychical infantilism and by drawing them into a mass delusion, religion succeeds in sparing many people an individual neurosis, but hardly anything more. There are, as we have said, many paths which may lead to such happiness as is attainable by men. But there is none which does so for certain. Even religion cannot keep its promise. If the believer finally sees himself obliged to speak of God's, quote, inescrutable decrees, unquote, he is admitting that all that is left to him as the last possible consolation and source of pleasure in his suffering is an unconditional submission. And if he is prepared for that, he could probably have spared himself the detour he has made. Unquote. But let us come back to the point of why man needs God. As Buddha correctly stated, man's life is full of problems. We are prone to become sick. We get old and die. No matter how much wealth we have amassed, all our riches cannot stop us from getting old and dying. Even though in the West, medical science has made so much progress that we can replace a failing heart with a brand new one through heart transplant. We still cannot stop people from dying of cancer and other diseases at a young age. Despite the best treatment, one young friend of mine recently died of cancer. She was only in her 40s. People continue to get cancer in the West and they continue to die. This is why Buddha says that our life is full of dukkha, that is suffering. It is this fragile nature of man's life that creates the need for God and religion. Apart from diseases, there is the social aspect. Man is so powerless in front of powerful men. The governments have become too powerful. 100 years ago, if you got a bad reputation in your town, you could move to another city or start a new life. But now you have to move to a new country to do that. And sometimes even that does not help. You have to move to a new continent. The governments try to control the minds and lives of their citizens. They use services of companies like Google and Facebook to spy on their citizens. They have huge amounts of wealth to give to these companies for their services. They intercept our electronic communications. They want to know all our likes and dislikes. They want to know our innermost thoughts. In this situation, only God can save us. When they try to control us so much, when raging voice against injustice only brings reprisals, when the rich and powerful get away with murder, but ordinary people get incarcerated for petty crimes, what else do we do but believe in God? Hello. If you liked this video, Please subscribe to this channel by clicking on subscribe button shown below. Also click on the share button shown below and share this video on your Facebook or Twitter page. Also share by sending the link to your friends via WhatsApp, email, or other medium. Channel name is Barry Nirmal. Thank you.